Yeah, I think watching this, I think Florian Wirtz at the moment is the best player in German football. He's been tremendous in this, and he's basically, if Leverkusen win a title or maybe two, or maybe three, we'll have to see, right? That's because of him. He's been carrying this team, and it's been very impressive to watch. Like, Leverkusen are down, and they for weeks now didn't quite have the aura that they had last year, where you could just bank on them coming back. And this was like maybe the first game this year where you kind of felt like last year's Leverkusen was back. They got themselves into a difficult situation, but you also felt that you also had the confidence that they would get themselves out of it. And it's because of Schick, and it's because of Wirtz. Most importantly, it is because of Wirtz, and the way he's been playing in the last few weeks is just, it feels like he's elevated his game to yet another level. And it is the power that he does it with, the directness, the creativity, the strength that he shows on the ball. He feels just like he's just hit another gear. And I think this is a really important aspect, and I think this will make Leverkusen really dangerous side going forward, is the way that Patrik Schick seems finally fit. We all know the player that he can be when he's fully fit, but he's playing a tremendous season. And then on top of that, yes, 70 million euros would have been great. I actually still think if Leverkusen would have gotten the money, they should have driven Boniface to Saudi Arabia. But his response has been incredible. In both the games after the transfer, he could have sulked, could have been upset. We all know that internally there has been issues, but then he comes on the pitch and scores two incredible goals. And the one that he scored tonight, that was an insane goal. When you watch that in slow motion, the way he finishes that's insane. And that, I think that is something that I think is really impressive, that the way he reacted to all the noise and all the complications, and he was off making a gazillion euros and living in a golden palace in Riyadh and all that kind of stuff, and now he's stuck still in, I guess, Düsseldorf. But Düsseldorf isn't too bad. I'm just saying. It's just, I think it's a really, really incredible story. And I think the Boniface transfer thing, I was thinking about that a little bit today. Now that he's here, because he does offer them a little bit of a different attacking option than Schick and Wirtz, right? He does give them something completely different. It is something that makes Leverkusen maybe a bit more complete than even Bayern Munich in the attack, where it's Harry Kane and Musiala, and there isn't really a plan B there, right? They have a plan B. And I wonder if ultimately Boniface not leaving is going to be the difference maker on whether Leverkusen are going to win a title or not. And yeah, the 70 million euros would have been nice, and maybe they could have been able to replace him. But I wonder if we look back maybe in May when Leverkusen are sitting there with 1, 2, or 3 titles, and we're like, yeah, it's because Boniface maybe scored a winner in the German Cup final, or he, scored a goal against Bayern Munich in the Bayer Arena in a week from now, right? And we're looking at that like, yeah, okay, all the money in the world, but they have another trophy in the cabinet because they kept him ultimately.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the thing that really struck me in this game was just how much that Cologne defence really kind of crumbled over time. And, for example, for the Boniface goal that ended up being the winner, Schmid, the defender at Cologne, he just completely shirks any responsibility of trying to get in front of Boniface. And I think you're right. Boniface is like, he's a bulldozer. He's like a wrecking ball. He's the guy who bounces off defenders and he causes disruptions. He pulls players out of position. He drifts out wide. And that's obviously why Florian Wirtz had such a great kind of link-up play with him last season and start of this season. Schick's a different type of player. Schick, to me, is like a very kind of classy number 9. Like, he's the guy who'll finish the chances that you put at his feet. He's a guy who'll score the headers. He's a guy who can hold up the play. But he's not the guy who's going to run over a central defender the way that Boniface does. Now, there's pros and cons to that. For example, Boniface, I don't think is anywhere near as composed as Schick. I think Schick's the better finisher, for example. I think 100%. Schick's the better goal scorer. But they both have their attributes, there's no doubt about it. And I think there's just something really powerful about having that ability to bring on one or the other when the other one's already on the pitch. You can see Cologne were just really struggling to deal with both of them. And actually, even after the second goal leading up to the third one, you could see Leverkusen were just prioritising getting the ball out wide and then flinging it into the box as quickly as possible, because they usually run it down to the bottom of the line and then they try and cut it back. They like to play very kind of neat, passive football into the box. But tonight, when they had both those players on the pitch, it was like, no, just swing the ball into the box, because they were confident that these guys were causing so much problem. And yeah, you're right. It's really impressive. And going forward, as you said, if they're up against Bayern and it's like the 70th minute and say, it's not really working for Schick, then they can turn to Boniface on the bench, and that's replacing one top-class striker with another one. And that's something that a lot of clubs don't have. It's something that Bayern Munich certainly don't have. I'm sure they'd love to be able to swap Harry Kane for Patrik Schick or Victor Boniface plenty of times this season. So yeah, you're right. It's an absolutely huge kind of bonus for Leverkusen. It's probably not going to last. Probably one of them probably will be moved on in the summer, I'd imagine. But right now, it gives them an extra dimension. I think that obviously, there's no doubt about it. It won them this game tonight. Obviously, Florian Wirtz can do what he can do, but he's not the guy who's stuck the ball in the back of the net. He needs someone to aim for, and that's what both those guys were.
Yeah, I know him. That's exactly it, right? He's the creator, and you need someone who finishes it. And yeah, I mean, I just thinking about that too. And this has been, you just need to go on our Substack and look at the debate. Bayer Leverkusen, we now know what the price is for Boniface. It's 70 million euro, right? And I assume Patrik Schick is going to fall into a similar ballpark. There's not many clubs in the Bundesliga. No, there's not a single club in the Bundesliga that has two 70 million euro strikers, or more. Those strikers could go for even more.
Well, not since Füllkrug left Dortmund.
Yeah, sure. Okay. But Bayern Munich have Harry Kane, that's it. And even when you look across Europe, how many clubs have two expensive strikers like that? Can't think of many, right? And so, yeah, that's something that they will utilize, and I think it will carry them a long way. And it's going to be fun to see how the German Cup unfolds. We got Stuttgart now in the semi-final. We got Leverkusen now in the semi-final. That would possibly be my dream final, to be honest with you, at this point. I hope they don't face each other in the semi-final. We, of course, will find out. The other two quarterfinals are in the end of February. February 25th, it's Bielefeld against Bremen. And then February 26th, it's Leipzig against Wolfsburg. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in those two games. But right now, I really would like to see Leverkusen and Stuttgart in the final. I think it would be a really, really great game to watch.
Yeah, another repeat, obviously, wouldn't it? I was actually thinking when Leverkusen were in the process of losing this game, I kind of thought I was in the process of preparing a kind of post on social media saying, well, it bodes well for Leverkusen's title defence if they do get knocked out, because very few teams win the double in Germany. And I thought, when was the last time someone won the double? And I quickly checked, and obviously, of course, it was Leverkusen last year. So I was like, oh, actually, maybe I shouldn't say that. But by and large, it usually helps if you do get knocked out of the German Cup, if you can, if you're in the process of trying to challenge for a league title. But no, it's huge. It really is huge for Leverkusen. I know people will probably look at it and think, wow, they made a dog's dinner of beating a team in the second division. But, it's a local rival. I can assure you that everyone in that stadium tonight was absolutely buzzing coming at the stadium. And the manner in which they came back from will be such a morale booster for the Leverkusen as well. And I think more importantly, more than anything else, maybe, it had the magic of last season about it. And yeah, so I think it's a huge result for them. It really is. And I guess we'll see how far it can kind of catapult them forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Leverkusen seems to be back. Yeah. All right. That wraps it up.